Somebody did. I wasn't an organizer, but someone just hit it.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Okay, cool. So today, like I said, our goal is to share the key resources that y'all would need to host really successful and awesome Together Remember events, and also just create space for questions for anything that's top of mind for you guys. I think folks are probably wondering about similar questions, so this should be really helpful. So we'll do a quick round of intros. We'll cover a brief demo of the virtual memorial. We'll pop open the name reading app that's still in development but functional enough to give you guys a quick peek at. We'll go over some live streaming details. We'll also talk about a community call to action, so that this connects Together Remember to some policy change that we're hoping to create through the campaign this year. And we'll go over some other resources and tips that are in the works and also already available for you. And then finally open the floor to Q&A. So why don't we jump right in? Can you go to the next slide, Sab? Awesome. So I'd love it for everyone who's on the line to come off of mute for a second if you don't mind. Share your screen if you'd like. You don't have to, or type in the chat box. But essentially, we'd love to go around the table, the virtual table, and find out, who's on the line, what community you represent. In one line, can you kind of describe the essence of what your Together We Remember event is going to be all about? Are you doing a 2-hour event, 4-hour event? With name reading, are you going to have folks speak? What exactly are you doing? And can you share a question that might be on your mind about Together Remember? And I will note those, and hopefully by the end of the call, we'll either address them now or just take them offline and follow up by email or Facebook. So I see we have Julie on webcam first. So Julie, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Julie Arnold. I'm actually the Director of International Affairs and Studies at Heidelberg. Our students are all in class right now. So.
And what is the Together Remember event looking like this year at Heidelberg? Heidelberg has done the name reading multiple years, and for over 24 hours, I think both times or one of the 2 times.
One of the 2 times, 24, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a school of just about 1,000 kids, am I right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's pretty cool. So how are things looking this year?
We've started signing up. We are doing a little bit different strategy with the times. We failed to get a lot of support at those wee hours of the morning. So we're going from 6 p.m. to midnight, and then Monday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Nice. Cool. And then do you have any burning questions on your mind that some of the folks at Heidelberg have been thinking about, or?
I don't have any questions. No, we're good. We're reaching out to community and Tiffin University for help.
Awesome. Well, y'all are pros at this already. I see Amy and
Nita.
Nita, awesome. Yeah. What's up, guys?
We're excited to be on this webinar. And don't have burning questions yet. Don't have burning questions yet because we know that you're going to tell us everything we need to know.
Yeah, and what is Together Remember going to look like from what Jewish World Watch is pulling together this year?
Oh, it's going to be amazing. At the DC Walk, we're going to have a name reading and an art installation that will be small because the DC Walk is rather small, but the thousands of people who are coming to the Los Angeles Walk will also participate in a name reading and a huge art installation that will be able to physically and online. And then we're trying to set up some other events that will be happening simultaneously with the LA Walk so that we can have live streaming of other people that can't make it to LA that are participating in the name reading. So we're very excited.
That's super exciting. And just so everyone knows, what Amy's referring to is the DC Walk to End Genocide and the LA Run and Walk to End Genocide. So in DC, that'll start at the Holocaust Museum, and there'll be like a procession, a walk down to the Lincoln Memorial and all that good stuff. So that's going to be super, super awesome. Cool. Does anyone else want to pop off of mute? Ben, are you able to chime up?
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Ben. I am running a TWR at Northwestern University, and we're trying to do 12 hours, and I've been muting myself because my dog barks very loudly. Yeah, I'm really excited. I don't have any super burning questions right now. I'm sure we'll have some questions at the end though.
Awesome, cool. Who else do we have here? I think that's most. Oh, Elizabeth, are you able to speak on your phone? Maybe not. Just feel free to drop it into the chat. Chat box. There we go. Awesome. Yeah, so feel free to, Elizabeth, I guess I'll speak for you a little bit. She's at UChicago, so not too far away from you, Ben. And I think Elizabeth is in like the design phase of the event, so I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to turn out. Elizabeth, if you know, feel free to let us know over the chat box, but I'm super excited to have UChicago on board as well. Cool, so I think that's everyone, but there's other folks to introduce themselves super quick. Sav and Mac, do you want to quickly just say hi?
Yeah, my webcam has been going on and off, but I think it's working now. I'm kind of dual, so I'm Savannah, I'm the student director of STAND, but I'm also at UNC, and I'm helping UNC Chapel Hill in North Carolina and Duke host their name reading, so I'm kind of like playing both roles right now. We're really excited. We're actually doing our name reading the weekend after everybody, the like scheduled time is because of the NCAA championships, which are important to us at Carolina and Duke. But we're working together.
Not so much at Duke anymore.
Well, yeah, poor Duke. Not really poor Duke. We love it. We love it.
Poor Duke.
Yeah, they scheduled their name reading for a championship that will not happen. But anyways, so we're working on that. Are really excited. We're looping it in with a broader Genocide Action Week, which we've done every year for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. So looking forward to building that up. And then also just looking forward for the communities who are new or are just getting introduced. Together We Remember is growing, especially in partnership with STAND recently. So we're excited to bring some of the action items to the forefront and share some of the things that we've been working on that kind of bring Never Again and bring the mission of commemoration into action alive. So we're really excited for everyone to be on.
And hi, everyone. I'm Mac. It's nice to meet everyone via webcam. So I work for STAND here in DC, and on April 1st and 2nd and 3rd, I will be in Los Angeles for our conference that we're hosting with Jewish World Watch. And so I'll also be at the University of Southern California for their name reading. I was at the George Washington University name reading last year, and that was really cool. And yeah, just looking forward to seeing some magic happen.
Sweet. Yeah, I came up with an analogy today about like how we're all hopping on a magic carpet. So it's going to take magic to do the kind of change that we want to make in the world. So here we go. Well, why don't we get right to it? Oh, really quick, I see Elizabeth posted some more information about UChicago. So let's see. They're working with Amnesty International, the chapter at UChicago, and they'll do a 4-hour event, and they'll get rocking and rolling after spring break. So that's going to be great. Cool. Sab, can we jump to the next slide? It's taking a second to load. Cool. All right. So I'm really excited to share our in-progress virtual memorial that we currently have. And, the virtual memorial has been a pretty big dream of mine of ours for a while, and what it's going to ultimately become has yet to be totally determined. A virtual memorial has never really quite been created before, so we'll see how it turns out. I'm pretty confident it's going to be at least really fun to kind of crowdsource content from a variety of different folks. So there'll be a different bunch of components in the memorial itself. So there'll be an active display of victims' names, much like in the app, but it's going to just keep rolling. So name, 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 kind of like that. We're also going to have survivor testimony videos, upstander testimony videos, crowdsource social media posts. So hopefully this is the part where you guys will come in and drive as much content to social media using the Together Remember hashtag, including with live streaming. We will probably have a visitor pledge, so someone who comes can kind of take a pledge that, together we remember to remember remember humanity at its worst and inspire humanity to be its best. among other things that bring that to life. And then we also have a crowdsourced Spotify playlist. So, you know, if there's a song that speaks to you when you think about how we remember victims or inspire one another to act with moral courage, you know, what might that song be? And that's a public playlist. And then also we have our Medium blog. And so anyone can submit a blog post to our publication called Together We Remember. And so our hope is that ultimately, you know, students and religious leaders and famous people, you name it, will contribute their sort of Together We Remember thoughts via the blog at some point down the road as well. So a large combo of different things in there. So Sav, if you actually could either click on that link or pull up the memorial, we can give you guys a quick peek of what that looks like. It's actually live right now. It's not a best practice to show your website as it's being built, but it's not April 1st yet, so we still have a little bit of time. Wanted to make it live so you guys can kind of see how things are getting made in the process. So if you could scroll down a bit, Sav, that would be awesome. So the first part, we have that first piece already developed where there'll be the name scrolling. It just has to be embedded by Mac's wonderful brother, Colin, who's our developer and designer. So that'll be in there shortly, probably tonight. And then the second section there, you see are the videos of different survivors. That's my grandpa. And you know, if you guys actually find these are all just YouTube videos. So if you find other videos of testimony of victims that are powerful and hopefully a little bit brief, then we can add them to, and we're going to try to cover different genocides and atrocities as we come across them. So those are the victim testimonies. And if you scroll down a bit further, Sav, we can show there are images where we didn't have videos to tell of folks' stories, but you know, like that one is a video of Spielberg talking about Oskar Schindler and making the film Schindler's List, which is really fascinating. And even last night, I was doing this late into the night. I'm just like finding stories of people that I didn't know existed, which is pretty special across different genocides and atrocities. So yeah, feel free to click on any of those in your spare time, and probably you'll need a tissue or two. You can keep scrolling, Sav. And then the parts where we're going to actually start contributing, those are still very much in progress. So the section on including the live streams, or I'm going to have to develop like what we call a widget for the different social media posts. So it'll crowdsource anything that goes to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think that's it, using the hashtag. And so that'll, you know, as it gets uploaded, it'll pop up there. So imagine hundreds of people contributing to that in real time. That would be pretty cool. And then we're going to add a widget for a pledge probably. And then the Spotify playlist is already live with a bunch that I'm probably going to delete, but I got overzealous one day when I was filling that out. And then we'll embed the blog as well. So very clearly a work in progress, but I'm okay with sharing things as they're getting made. I think that's a big part of the journey, especially with you guys. And of course, if you have feedback or ideas, let me know. Totally open to those. And then the next part, actually, if you could jump back really quick to the presentation, we can pop open the next slide, which hints at the app. So what's great about the app is it's literally just like 3 clicks and you have it open, and then you can begin your name reading. So there we go. So, you know, you go to the Together Member website, you click on the virtual memorial and in the navigation up top, and then you'll land on the memorial where we just were. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you hit begin my name reading ceremony. So, Sav, if you could jump over to that, that would be awesome. Sorry to have you dancing back and forth. You have to click on the website. That's just a picture.
Oh, okay. Go back to the website.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
User experience is very important, as you can tell.
Yeah, hold on. It's thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Here, begin my name reading ceremony.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see if that works. Hold my breath. So Colin has done an incredible job building this. We took our database of over 50,000 names of victims from 6 different genocides thus far, and we're still building it out. And so hopefully by April, we'll have even more victims' names in there. So all you have to do is click begin name reading, and then a name will pop up. So there you can see it says Emile Rousseau perished at the age of 5 in the Holocaust. And then you can, if you're on a laptop and you're showing, if you're having people read off of a laptop, all you have to do is either hit any key on the laptop or click on the next button. And then if you're on a tablet or iPhone or some other mobile device, you'll also have the next button, or I'm gonna work with Colin to hopefully get it to work from just a tap. That should function. I think for some reason right now it just started rocking and rolling without. It should only go name and then it won't go forward until you hit.
I'm clicking on it. You may not be able to. There's
cool.
like a next button. Yeah.
I was worried. I was like, uh-oh, it's just playing.
No. I was just clicking on it to show people what it would look like. But yeah, it would, like, if I'm not clicking, I think you can see my mouse now. If I don't click, it doesn't do anything. But it's in the bottom corner that you might not have screen shared. Okay, awesome. And usually I think we're working on the size of the text, so hopefully it'll be a little bit bigger depending on like what device you're using. But it'll hopefully be readable. And then, down the road, we'll do some more complicated things with this. But for right now, I think we're trying to just keep it simple and functional. So yeah, that is the name reading app. Very basic. So we could press forward. Cool. So we're on to live streaming. And as you have questions, guys, if anything comes up, like feel free to just drop it into the chat box if you're worried about forgetting it. And then we'll pause in a little bit for any other questions. Okay, cool. So live streaming. Last year we used a platform called Crowdcast, which it was really great and a really good learning experience. It's based off of Google Hangouts and YouTube. So there's something called YouTube Live. But it didn't get that much traction. So it's not something where they're like Facebook, where you already have millions of people on it, over 1 billion people on it. So when you post a video to Facebook with their live streaming functionality, it's a lot easier to go viral and get a lot of attention. It's also really easy to use, so you could just do it from your iPhone or cell phone. So this year we're going to use Facebook Live, and we're going to take a bit more of a flexible approach. And what I mean by that is you'll be totally in control of how you want to make this work for your community. So it could be a 10-minute, I'm going to hold up my phone and capture the story of a survivor that's delivering a 10, 15-minute, testimony or speaking to the students at the event. It could be as people are coming out of having just spent 10 or 15 or 20 minutes reading names any time of day or night, say, hey, what was that experience like? Like, what came to mind while you were reading names? And I've done these sorts of interviews before, and you'll be amazed by like how powerful the answers are, how different the answers are from people from all different walks of life. So there's something really special about that I think you'll have fun doing. You may have an interfaith prayer or ceremony that you could record as well, or you could actually just like record. I think Facebook allows you to do 4-hour increments, so you could actually set up your phone, a tablet, or your laptop, and just like have it go. And it could just kind of record everything as it's happening. But obviously there's different value to like holding up your phone and engaging in conversation with someone versus just kind of leaving it passively in one place. Down the line, we'll do some fancy things. Like next year, hopefully we'll be able to like, change between different cameras and figure all that cool stuff out. But for now, we're gonna keep it basic. And the only real critical thing the most important part about all of this is as you post your Facebook Live videos, you'll want them to be public. So otherwise we won't be able to see them. Only your friends will be able to see them. So what you can do is, I'll show you on the next slide, you'll be able to just change the setting of like who can see it, whether it's friends or public. And you can post it to a page that you run, whether it's a Together Remember page specific to your community. You may have created that or not. You may have a Stand chapter page that's public that you could post it on as well. But as long as you use the Together Remember hashtag, we think we'll be able to capture everything in the memorial itself. So you could jump to the next page, Sab, for me, please. Cool. So there are really 4 basic steps to Facebook Live if you haven't done it before. You just go to where you normally would make a post, and this is at least on your cell phone or a mobile. You click on that little icon that is Facebook's interpretation of what it means to go live. You could add a description of the video, and between now and April, we'll probably come up with maybe a standard way to create a description. But if you have you want to make it catchy and brief,
and descriptive to the extent possible. So ultimately, again, it's up to you, but we'll provide some advice and feedback on that. But you could see that there is a drop down there where it says friends, and that's where you would actually select, you can see in screenshot number 3, public, and then that will be the way that you can then just hit go live and everyone in the world will be able to see it. A pro tip on the bottom, this happens, so don't forget to bring your power cord. Someone volunteered their laptop, which was very nice of them, but they forgot their power cord and then they couldn't find it. So our live stream last year at Duke was 2 hours because that's how long the computer battery lasted. It was great, but hopefully this year you guys can remember power cords when in doubt. And another option if you're using your phone is like an external battery block that a lot of people have these days. Something else that you could do is have a tripod set up for either an iPhone, there's really small ones or even big ones, and that'll help you get steady video, which is always good. And then, you know, if you're tech savvy and you can handle good audio, I mean, there are attachments that you could drop into your phone as well for this sort of thing, or into your laptop, but not really a big deal. Cool, I think that covers the basics of mobile Facebook Live. We can hop to the next slide. Next one's about streaming from your laptop. So in some cases, like I'm realistic. I probably wouldn't donate my phone for 24 hours to just like be out there. Like I need to communicate with people, right? So you probably won't use your phone for a 24-hour or 4-hour stream. So in some cases, you might think it's best to set up a laptop with your laptop webcam, or like a more high quality HD webcam, which is usually just like a USB plug-in and it connects to your top of your laptop. If you're at a school, often they'll have those for rent or things like that. They're pretty cheap to buy too. So you can actually set it up on your laptop, but Facebook has not really updated its software in a while. So you actually have to use like a third-party software, and all the instructions for that are in that link right there. And we'll send this out after we run up against time. So what I'll do later this week is actually list out what all those instructions are and test it out myself, and I'll get back to you guys on exactly how that works. But if you're curious, that website has it as straightforward as I would otherwise communicate it. So again, it's just a third-party app, super straightforward and simple, that allows you to stream Facebook off your computer. And that's easier to like leave over time rather than your cell phone, which is your lifeline to the world. Cool, so I think that covers live streaming for the most part. I'll pause really quick right now because we've covered a good bit of stuff. Are there any questions that come to mind based on the virtual memorial and how we're getting content to the memorial with the hashtag live streaming, things like that? And you could feel free to just come off mute.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, what's up, Ben?
So I have the Facebook page of Together We Remember, and I also have like my own personal profile. In terms of Facebook Live, should we just try to do it from our own personal profiles and kind of ignore the page itself, which has probably at best modest traction?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I think ideally you probably want to run it off of your personal Facebook profile because that's how all your friends are probably going to see it that way. That said, you might find that, you know, if you're going to post 20 Facebook Live videos in one day,
right,
it might be a lot for all of your friends to see. So perhaps you might spread them between the two. I honestly don't have a perfect answer to this. We're going to have to just experiment a little bit. I think the most important part though is that one way or the other, we capture the videos and that they end up used with the hashtag and in the memorial itself.
Right.
So, you know, I think maybe for the most powerful pieces, you could drive it to your personal account that you would like to actually get eyeballs on. And then, and also what you could do is, actually, here's another idea that just came to mind. You could kind of share the responsibility with your team.
Yeah.
So if you have a team of like 4 or 5.
I was thinking that also. We could all just share different videos on each of our accounts of the things that are going on.
Yeah, I mean, each of you guys could like cover a different angle. So like one of you could be like the sideline reporter talking to people after they read, and one of you could be focused on like the readings themselves. So, you know, there's a bunch of different ideas, and actually that'd be really cool if you guys experiment, come up with different ways, and then report back after and let us know how it went, so we can tell other folks for future events down the road. Ben, what day are you guys coordinating it again?
We're on April 3rd from
Okay,
9 to 9.
What'll be awesome is you'll have been early in the game in April, so hopefully we'll be able to take like rapid feedback afterwards, and we can see, you know, how it went, and then offer feedback to some of the other communities that are going to go after you.
Sure.
Another suggestion or thought that just popped into my head would be if you're working with academic departments or other student organizations that have a public Facebook page, you could potentially use that. I know some of our stand chapters have chapter-specific fan pages that they could theoretically do that from. Elizabeth, I don't know if Chicago Amnesty has a page, but theoretically that could be live streamed from. So I think there's a bunch of different ways depending on who might be co-hosting your reading. But I also like the idea of reaching out to your own friend network and doing it on your personal page, because it's kind of cool to see your friends go live.
Yeah, I think it's really, I think it's gonna be awesome either way. It could be cool if like those organizations are like basically sponsoring a live stream or like sponsoring an angle of the event through their pages. So yeah, cool, thanks Mac. Ready to hop on, or any other questions before we jump on? Cool, all right, cool, let's move forward then. All right, off to you, Mac.
Cool. So just jumping into what David mentioned earlier about doing a political action with your Together We Remember name reading. So as some of you know, I know some of you are new to who STAND is and what we do, but we are the student-led movement to end mass atrocities. And so we began in response to the Darfur genocide, really trying to figure out what we could do as, you know, Americans who live in a democratic society to push political action to help end the genocide in Darfur. And so since then, about 2004, we have grown to focus on other conflicts as well as the Darfur conflict in Sudan. So we focus on Syria, Sudan and South Sudan, Congo, Burma, and emerging atrocities such as those in Burundi and Yemen. And we also really focus on what the US government uniquely can do to help prevent genocide before it happens. And something that really has stuck with me for a long time is Elie Wiesel's role in this as an activist and Holocaust survivor. He was huge in the Save Darfur movement and was always out there telling his story and connecting it to the Sudanese struggle as well. And he tells this story about how he was on a panel with President Clinton when a Rwandan genocide survivor stood up and said, you knew that this was going to happen. You had all of the information at your fingertips. Why didn't you act to prevent this genocide? And President Clinton didn't really have an answer for that. And so, you know, really this movement came from that belief that the United States government should do everything it can when it sees the warning signs of genocide and mass atrocities to use its influence to prevent such atrocities. So that's just a little bit about who we are and what we've been doing. So right now, the action that we are hoping that you'll be able to work into your Together We Remember events, turning the commemoration into action for people who are suffering today, is on the State Department and foreign aid budget cuts that have been proposed by the Trump administration. So as you can see on the slide, the administration has proposed a 29% cut to the international affairs budget. So that includes US diplomatic efforts, which includes State Department funding. It includes the United States Agency for International Development, also known as USAID. It completely cuts the United States Institute for Peace, which does really important work here in DC and research. So that would just be completely gone. And it actually would also cut United Nations spending by more than 50%. And to put that in perspective, our funding to the UN is about 0.1% of our budget, maybe 0.2% of our budget. Foreign aid as a whole is under 1% of our budget. So it's really a very tiny, tiny investment. And it has a lot of really important payouts. So over the past 25 years, extreme poverty all over the world was cut in half. And that is clearly because of the US and other countries investing in different countries. Over 11 million lives around the world have been saved due to PEPFAR, which is United States aid to folks who have HIV and AIDS. And there has been a 99% reduction in polio cases because of vaccines that we were able to provide through aid funding. So it really has an enormous, enormous human impact. And these proposed cuts come at a time where we have the worst humanitarian crises since World War II. And the highest number of refugees ever in recorded human history. So really, this is not the moment where we should be cutting aid. It actually is a moment where we should be increasing aid and increasing efforts to invest in peace building around the world. So to us, this is really important. It affects all of our conflict areas. It affects people that we work with on these issues every day. So that's just a little bit about why we are pushing for this. Sav, do you want to go to the next slide? Cool. So here are the things that you guys can potentially do. So the first one is a pretty easy one that our friends at Jewish World Watch are helping us set up. So it's emailing your elected officials. So we'll have a specific page that you can go to that you can just kind of type in your name and address, and it'll automatically send this message to your senators and your House representative. So that's the easiest ask that we have. You could also potentially set up a laptop somewhere near your name reading and direct people to that to do that action. So that's like kind of the least effort thing that you could do. You can tweet it out, you can mention it on your live stream, etc. The next thing that you can do is calling and writing letters to your elected officials. So as you can see to the right, we have a sample call-in script. If you call the number right there, the Capitol switchboard, someone picks up and directs you right to the office that you're trying to connect with. And then you tell the intern or whoever picks up the phone, you can use our script or you can adapt it as you see fit. And they record that answer and relay it to the senator or representative. And I would say that depending on the office, really a small number of calls can make a really huge difference because this is not really an issue that a lot of people are calling about. If you even make like 15, 20 calls, that can make a huge, huge difference in the senator or representative prioritizing it. And I would say it's also a little bit more effective than an email action just because, you know, in this age of electronic communication, offices get a lot of petitions and different things. So this is kind of like the next step up, a little bit more effective. You could also theoretically have a letter writing station somewhere close to your name reading as well, and have talking points. We've compiled talking points that we're just working on finalizing. You could provide those and have people handwrite letters, mail them to me in DC, and we'll hand deliver them to Congress for you. So that is a really cool and tangible thing as well. It's really cool to walk into an office with 20 letters and say like, hey, wanted to like speak to your foreign aid staffer. We have a bunch of letters from students in this state who want you to really focus on this. So that the address that you can send those to will be in our guide as well. And then the last thing that you can do, which is actually the most effective thing, is getting media attention. So we're encouraging people to write op-eds or letters to the editor in local papers. And you can use also the talking points that I mentioned before to draft those. But you could also theoretically, you should be inviting media to your event anyway to cover your name reading. And this is something that you could easily talk to a reporter about and say, you know, we're together for this event, together we remember, we're remembering people who have died in genocides throughout history. And we're also working together to take action to prevent genocide. And this is how we're doing it. We want Senator X to oppose the foreign aid budget cuts. So there are a lot of different ways that you could do this, and we encourage you to get creative, think of your own ideas. These are just some of the strategies that you can employ. And we'd really encourage you guys to, you know, pick one or two, and then at regular intervals during your name reading, maybe every 30 minutes or something, because your crowd will probably slightly change throughout time, depending, you know, what time of day it is, and if there's a lot of traffic on campus, people are going to class, etc. You'll want to reiterate it so that the new audience can know how they can get involved and learn more.
Awesome, thanks, Mac. One thing I would add to this sort of to the, you know, from commemoration to action point is, like, this is really where Together We Remember takes it to the next level. This is where, you know, when we think about the grand scope of things, you know, if we can use Together Remember, the month-long campaign, as a platform for real tangible policy change, that's going to be, I mean, that's really the whole point. So the fact, like right now, the need is the America Leads campaign and getting, you know, ensuring we have enough funding for our foreign aid budgets, because for example, I just watched a CBS documentary last night about South Sudan and how a very small amount of money goes to food aid, for example, and all these thousands of people are literally dependent, like their lives, they're going to starve if they do not get this funding. If the funding dries up, food dries up, and these people have no chance. So it is really urgent and really important. So would love to see each community find a way to integrate the policy ask. And so, you know, you also could integrate, you know, the concept of, you know, Together We Remember that America Leads. So if you're thinking about ways to integrate both hashtags, that's a great way to do it. But I would still emphasize that at the end of the day, it's going to be really important to figure out how to get the Together Remember hashtag first and foremost into your content posts as well, so it hits the memorial.
Yeah.
Cool.
Bounce off of that, and I'd also love to take any immediate questions that people may have about what's happening with the budget, and like throw around some ideas if that's something people are interested in. But we're also at a point in time where there are 4 countries at the brink of famine. Like, hunger is incredibly prevalent now in a way that it hasn't been in many, many years, and possibly ever. So yeah, it's just a
Which one?
Vital time.
Which, it's South Sudan, Yemen, who else?
Syria and Nigeria, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I'm happy to answer any immediate questions before we move on, if anyone has any.
Has there been a more effective way of getting people to do this in the past from your experience, David?
Doing what specifically? Like getting someone to say yes to, yes, I will write a letter, or yes, I will like,
or even email, or just like something really small. Like, have you tried things and what works best?
Yeah, I think this is where it's helpful to put on the, like, I'm a random person walking by my event hat, or like, I am the person who just read names hat, or I'm the person who will read names and I'm getting an email about what I'm about to do tomorrow, the night before. These are all like opportunities for engagement, and how you design, like, it sounds crazy, but like, you really have to engineer those experiences, the word choice. And, you know, as someone who stood outside and like with a whiteboard and like asked people to randomly write a Together We Remember statement and then like take a picture with it, I learned for one last year that if you ask people to take a picture with their own phone, that picture will probably never see the day, like the light of the internet. Like, people just will either forget, or like they don't like the idea of, you know, someone else taking a picture of them and uploading it. So like, these are things that you'll learn as you experiment. But I would say, put on that hat of like, what would you do if someone randomly came up to you and asked you about this thing, or asked you to do something? You know, what could you do to make the spot that you're hosting your event like really like interesting or attractive, right? So like, Some communities will have virtual reality films playing right near the space of the name reading. So if you're walking by randomly and you see 5 or 10 people like watching a virtual reality film, the VR headset is something that's kind of like, whoa, what's that? And people are going to come up and they'll ask you questions. So it's about creating, I think, a number of those like curiosity points, and then also making the asks very tangible, specific, and manageable, and not like overdoing it. And also having maybe like a menu of things that some might feel like a bit more intense, and other things are like, well, at least you could do this, really simple, right? Like, and if you don't, you like seem not so nice. I am not the expert though, to be honest. I would say Mac and Sav have more experience on like direct, like how do we get people to do a thing? So I would pass it over to them.
Yeah, so I'll let Sav answer this too, because they had their name reading last year, and we had a legislative ask as well that we were incorporating into it, so she might have some ideas. But one thing that we will provide to you is like a quarter pager basically of this call script that you could theoretically print, 100 of those or whatever, and like cut them up into fourths of a page and then pass them out to folks at the name reading. I've also found it really effective in event organizing to like have everyone just call at the same time. Like literally be like, take out your phones right now, everyone, and do this action right now, and then have someone on stage do it to show exactly how it's done. So I think that there are a lot of different ways that you could theoretically get creative depending on which action you decide to incorporate.
Yeah, I can just jump on that with less of the like tangible hows and more of the like rhetorical and talking point hows, and just say that I think the thing that I found most useful in trying to convey, how reading links or like reading names of people can tie into a direct action, or how this actually contributes to preventing genocide. And what I have found is just as a team, as you're going into the name reading, or if you hypothetically are able to communicate with all of the people who will be doing the name readings, I think it's really useful to just review the 2 or 3 sentences that you're going to use in order to connect. If people say, oh wow, you're reading out on your campus, this is an odd thing to be doing, why are you doing it, that you can very quickly and easily say. And this probably differs in exact words for everyone, but essentially something along the lines of, we're very moved by historical genocides and mass atrocities. They're the tragedies of our time, but these atrocities are still going on. And right now, budget cuts, or X, whatever the action item is, but in this case would be budget cuts, financial or foreign aid cuts, threaten to exacerbate these atrocities or perpetuate them. And you can say, for this reason, we're commemorating to remind everyone that these things have happened and that people have been affected by them. But we're also trying to say that there are things that you can do right now to keep this from happening real time. And so, with that in mind, and with the fact that we're standing out here reading names, would you like to do your part? Here's a small ask you can do. So I think where there are a lot of tips on, how to like life hack people into getting them to call and things like that, I think the other useful thing is just really direct communication of saying, here's what we're doing and why, and trying to really like emotionally connect it without like, over guilting, but just saying, look, we like don't stand out here and read for fun. We do it because there are things we can do now. Would you like to, take part in one? And so I think that for me has always been the most useful, is just be like very frank with people, but be like, we wouldn't stand out here if there wasn't, things to be done for all of us. So maybe just communicating it in that way, or making sure everyone on your team knows how to articulate that in their own words.
Yeah, I would also really
thank you. That's, super good advice.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're pros. Been doing it longer than me. I was gonna piggyback on that really quickly and just say that we'll also share like a frequently asked questions document for community organizers like you guys yourselves, because I can't tell you how many times someone has come up to me at a name reading and been like, what about this? Or like, how did you choose the names? Or like, how did you do that? And so those are questions that will probably come up, and it'll be really good for you to have those answers in advance and make sure that, anyone who's gonna be like a representative of your event, to have good answers to that, because I think that's important. So I'll share that with you guys. It's added to my list. We had one last year, but we have to update it a little bit. Cool. In the interest of time, can we jump forward to the next part?
Yes, if anyone has any questions, feel free to write them in the chat box and I can respond.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So just want to point your attention to a number of resources that already exist or are going to exist very soon within the next couple days. So we've already got the Together Remember website with the organizer's guide that has, you know, the step-by-step guidance for how you could plan your event. Someone recently came up to me and was like, well, why didn't, or it might have been someone on the line here that was like, oh, we didn't think about like this barrier. Well, we talked about it in the organizer's guide, so definitely take a read through. We've come against like tons of obstacles, whether it's sound regulations for amplified sound, you know, you can't do it at this time, it can't be this loud. Those rules are just like, these rules are imaginary, so they can be broken either through, you know, negotiation and getting someone to, you know, whoever is the key decision maker to change the rule, because it's as simple as them saying, nope, not a rule anymore, which is what happened at Duke one year. Or, you know, in some cases, free speech becomes literal free speech and you find another way to do it, and that becomes the story. Not saying for you to break the rules, but, you know, depending on the scenario, it may be warranted. Cool, so we have the website with the organizer's guide. We also are developing what we're calling a GenPrev 101 guide. So it's kind of like, you know, what are the basic questions that anyone who's going to become a genocide prevention advocate, what should they know to be effective advocates? It's like, you know, if someone asks you what is genocide, could you provide a good answer to that in like a line or two? And so what we want to do is prepare that for you so that you could, you know, A, study it, and B, even just print that stuff out, right? Like maybe a quarter sheet that has the answers to those questions ready to go that you could use as a reference when you are asked, or be like, hey, check this out. This is all you need to know, really, or at least to get started. So that is in the works. We've got also, each of your communities should have a community toolkit. So that's a Google folder with a name reading sign up template. There are also planning tools in there. One spreadsheet that has, you know, a planning checklist, a budget template, and an event production plan. It seems like overkill, but even at Duke, it was super helpful to just, you know, run through okay, it's the night before, what have we missed something? And the planning checklist has like a pretty exhaustive list of the things that you will want to, you know, double check. Budget template, I know, Ben, you've made use of that. And then the event production plan template. This is basically like, okay, how is this going to actually work on the day of? Who is the person who's going to receive, you know, the speaker system that's going to be delivered by the rental company at this time? Like, someone's got to be somewhere at particular times to get things done. So as the lead organizer of your event, you know, you'll go crazy if you don't know that those things are taken care of. So that production plan template can be really helpful to have your day of plan. Marketing materials are also incoming. I'm developing a Facebook event cover photo, so if you haven't created your Facebook events yet, definitely go for it. And then I'll provide a template for a cover photo, and then we can work together on, you know, customizing what you might need for the text in that. We'll also have a full page and quarter page flyer template, blank and with some content already filled in. And then I'm also partway done with drafting a press release template. And so it's really good to send out press releases typically like 2 to 3-ish weeks in advance, so media can be prepared and have it on their radar. But if you have to do it sooner or closer to the event, that's all good too. So we'll have that ready for you guys ASAP as well. And then finally, the community hub on Facebook. So I've been posting there a bunch. Max posted in there. Some others have introduced themselves. But if you get a chance, and if you haven't done it yet, feel free to go in there and say hello. Introduce yourself in any form that you feel comfortable doing so. Feel free to ask for input on any ideas or planning that you're curious about. If you need help brainstorming, if you come across really cool content related to Together Remember and what we're working on together, feel free to drop it in there. It's really intended to be a community. And imagine, like, over a year or two, a couple of years, like, this will have hopefully hundreds and hundreds of people around the world who are building Together Remember as a global movement beyond just us. So yeah, let's get active in there to the extent that you're excited about that. And then the other thing is Mac recently posted a collaborative spreadsheet in the hub that is basically an open request for poetry or quotes from world leaders or others, songs that are really inspiring, related to Together Remember, or the message behind it. And so if you want to contribute to that, by all means, would love to have your input there, because some communities are going to actually do like poetry readings. At USC, over the 24-hour event, they're going to do like every hour or so, like a reading of poetry. So they'll probably pull from this this database that we're building together. So yeah, can we jump to the next slide? Cool. Pro tip. So really a couple final thoughts here. So I'll emphasize it again and again. Rely on the tools and templates. There is a lot of collective wisdom in them from now. This is our 5th year doing Together, remember. So a lot of thought and effort has gone into them. And then we also would love for you to use them because we need to know if they're not actually that helpful or how to make them better in future years. So we, imagine hundreds, if not thousands of communities using them. How should they be set up so that way that they can be really effective and not being totally dependent on, me or someone else like Mac or Sab providing super direct support to pull off a name reading event. Rely on the community. Yep. So post in the hub whenever you have questions, share thoughts and messages there, and resources. And then, as I said earlier, regarding designing your event, it's really important just to put yourself in the shoes of your event participants and community members that are going to be passing by, and really think, how are they going to interact with and engage this in a way that's going to be really special and meaningful. And I promise you, like, once this happens once and some people like drink the Kool-Aid, be like, wow, like, why haven't we been doing this every year? And like, how can we do it bigger and better next year? And so while your recruiting efforts this year may be a little bit steep and tough to get people on board initially, I promise next year when you send out your sign-up sheet, like at Duke, like that thing fills up super fast with very minimal marketing. So that's that. And then, of course, even when obstacles come up, don't sweat it. My grandpa would always say, we were outside his concentration camp in Austria, and he said, like, how did I survive? Well, aside from luck, I believe that there was always a way. He said he wouldn't jump the gun. And he would just think through his situation and say, all right, how do I get out of this one? So whether it's sound ordinances or some space thing falling through or rain or whatever it might be, there's always a way to figure it out. And sometimes you just have to adjust your expectations a little bit. And there's always next year. So this is definitely a long-term process. So we're hoping you guys are down for the long-term ride with us too. And then finally, I try to step back every now and then. I get into the weeds and I remind myself that at the end of the day, we're doing this for the victims and the heroes from past genocides and atrocities, as well as those today and potentially in the future. So, we're hoping that only one of those groups grows in numbers, and hopefully Together, remember, we'll have a part in that. So that covers the pro tips. Is there anything else after this, Sab? I'm actually curious. I don't think so. I think we could use the last couple minutes for open floor. I know we got into some questions before, but I'll shut up now. Any questions, guys? Any thoughts? How we feeling for your events?
David, we are those Native American names that I sent you a while ago going to be in the app in the final go?
Good reminder. Yes, we shouldn't. I would love to integrate those in. I would love to integrate those in there. They're not in there yet. I think I sent them over to Colin to integrate into the database, but I have to ask him if he actually got to integrating them yet.
David, my question is with respect to ease of use. Have you thought about the fact that some of the names might be hard to pronounce?
Really good question. So this one comes up often with pronunciation. The typical answer is it's all about intent. So there are going to be names that it's just going to be a little bit tough to say, and so we just often tell folks, give it your best shot. We could create a kind of pronunciation guide that maybe you guys could send out in advance. So if you're going to email all of your name readers that have signed up, for example, if you're reading a Bosnian name, most of them end in IC, and it sounds like itch, not ick. So we could do like a couple bullets on that if that would be helpful. But beyond that, I don't anticipate that we would do all that much, at least this year.
So you wouldn't provide transliterations already there next to the name?
It would require someone to go through all those thousands of names and typing out the phonetic spelling, which could be a very worthy project to do, but we can't handle that right now.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm just concerned that people might feel that it's disrespectful to be reading a name wrong. So anyway, that's just my thought. The other thing is, what's the direction, and maybe I just missed this, for how the names are being read? So you have, so-and-so, so-and-so, comma, died at age 50. Do you want that entire phrase read, or is that there for information and we're just reading the name?
So this is something that we've been discussing, actually. I'm glad you brought it up. So Mac, myself, and Colin, and some others have been trying to figure this out, where there are a couple different options for how we can structure the statement that comes up or the information that appears. For each name, typically we have their name and we have which genocide they perished in. Often we have how they perished, how old they were, the year. So there are different things that we could do. One option is to actually construct it like the St. Louis Twitter post, if you saw that, where they actually say, like, my name is blank and I was murdered in blank in this year. That could go well or not, because then you're actually like taking on the voice of that person. So I think it's something that we're still discussing, but most likely it'll end up being not just name genocide, which is what we've done the last 4 years. It'll be some sort of, this person perished in this place, trying to make it more of a statement rather than just name, date, or name, piece of information.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. And again, that's exactly what this is all about, is like figuring out, like, how does that go over depending on the different ways. Down the road, perhaps there might be a way to have different options where people could actually kind of customize how they want that to work, but we're at a very early stage where we can't quite handle that.
One option that I'm thinking is maybe things are done in tandem, so the name reader would just read the name and then their partner would read the description, so that you keep the significance of the name reading. That's, just the name is like the stone on the grave commemorative thing, and then the information comes from the partner source.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think in some cases, though, so I think we're gonna have one solution here, unfortunately, and in some cases there will be only one name reader and not two, or like the tandem. So I think what we can do, it's a really good idea, so we can talk about that some more and how that'll pan out. And we can actually have that discussion in the community hub on Facebook as well. So I'll post something there to get people's thoughts probably this evening or tomorrow. I know it's after we're up at the hour, so I want to close out and thank everyone. If you have other questions, it'd be awesome if you could feel free to email me or post it in the hub. Speaking of the hub posting spirit. And just a huge thank you. Super excited to have Northwestern and UChicago and the Jewish World Watch walk communities on board. And yes, this is the first call. We've got another one coming up later with more communities. So thank you guys for joining.
Thanks, David.
Great to
Yeah, see you guys later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.